He thought he was enforcing the law, but in that sacred silence, beneath the eternal flame, he just made the biggest mistake of his life. It happened on a humid afternoon at Arlington. The air felt heavy, reverent, as tourists stood behind the rope line, watching the tomb guard march in solemn perfection. Then, a shout, a scuffle, and in the space of a breath, the unthinkable happened. A police officer drew his taser and fired at the tomb guard of the unknown soldier. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The crowd froze. The crackling sound of the taser echoed through the marble walls. Gasps, then screams. The guard collapsed to one knee but didn't fall. Even stunned, he gripped his rifle. His jaw tight, his eyes locked forward. Training ran deeper than pain. The officer, young and nervous, barked for everyone to stand back, his hand trembling. He'd mistaken the guard's refusal to break formation for defiance. He didn't know that tomb guards never, under any circumstance, break posture, not even for death itself. Tourists began whispering. Phones rose in the air, recording every second. A veteran in the crowd muttered, "Oh, son, you don't know where you are." Dust shimmered in the sunlight as the tomb guard straightened his spine again. His uniform was soaked through, but his movements were precise, silent, mechanical, sacred. Every second of that ritual meant something. Every step honored the nameless dead. But just beyond the crowd, something stirred. A black SUV screeched to a stop. The door opened, and a man stepped out wearing 4 gleaming stars on his shoulder. The air changed. Even the birds went quiet. General Wallace Briggs, retired chief of staff, had been visiting a nearby grave. Now, his face was like stone. He walked forward without a word, and every soldier, every guard, every visitor seemed to sense it. Something monumental was about to happen. The police officer stammered, "Sir, I was just..." But Briggs' voice cut through him like steel. "You tasered a sentinel of the tomb, officer. Do you have any idea what that means?" The young man swallowed hard, the weight of the moment pressed against his chest. Around them, the crowd stood in stunned silence, the guard still holding his post, unwavering, disciplined, trembling slightly from the shock, but refusing to yield. Briggs turned to him. "Soldier," he said quietly, "stand down. You've done enough." But the guard didn't move. His voice, faint but firm, carried across the courtyard. "Permission to continue my watch, sir." For a heartbeat, the general said nothing. Then his expression softened. He turned back to the officer. "That," he said, pointing at the trembling sentinel, "is what honor looks like." The officer's eyes glistened. Shame filled his throat like gravel. "I didn't know," he whispered. "No," Briggs replied, stepping closer, his tone low but heavy. "You didn't. But now you will." He motioned toward the fallen rifle, and another guard retrieved it, handing it back with reverence. The sentinel took it, reset his stance, and resumed his march, steady, resolute, unbroken. The onlookers began to applaud softly, hesitant at first, then rising like a wave of respect. Some cried. Even the officer joined them, tears streaking down his face. Later that evening, the officer returned, alone. He placed a folded letter and his badge at the tomb's edge. Inside, he'd written one line: "For the men who never move, even when I should have." The next morning, that same 4-star general found him waiting by the gate. "You're not done yet," Briggs told him. "You're going to learn what that uniform means." And so he did. The officer requested reassignment to military security, where he would spend the next years protecting the very soldiers he'd once misunderstood. Because respect isn't taught by rules, it's earned by revelation. And sometimes, the deepest lessons come from the silence of those who never speak. Before you go, tell me, do you think the guard did the right thing by not breaking formation? I read every comment. If you love true stories of courage, honor, and justice, make sure to subscribe. There are many more waiting to be told.